Hello, my name is Emma Tobias, and welcome to this video where I'm going to talk about 4 books that I've read recently that I would all consider to be pretty good to really good. Let's get into it. The first book that I've read recently is Meet Cute, which is an anthology, a YA anthology all about teens meeting in cute ways. This was an anthology that had really great rep. A lot of the stories were own voices. There were stories with people of color, queer characters. There was a trans character who had a story written by a trans author. So in general, like, amazing rep. I would say this book was definitely just 3 stars for me. I feel like going into it, you could probably find something for you. It has something for everyone, and has a story that's probably going to hit you in the feels in some way. For me, the only story that I genuinely really loved was Danielle Clayton's story, which is very fantastical and felt a lot like her novel The Bells, which I really loved, that I read this year. And that was the only story that was really a standout for me. In general, I thought it was just fine. There was one story that I had technical problems with, which was a story written by Nina LaCour, which was set in a print shop, and I'm getting my master's in part in printing, and there was some, like, that's not actually right moments for me that bothered me, but in general, like, I think it was a perfectly fine anthology that just didn't necessarily, like, impress me all the way through. But yeah, it was fine. I would say 3 stars. It was pretty good. The next book I've read recently was Priest Daddy by Patricia Lockwood. This is a memoir. The way that it hooks you in is that Patricia Lockwood's father is a priest, and he became a priest after he was already married and had children. And it's basically about Patricia Lockwood's life, growing up with a father who's a priest, but also a father who's a complete character in every way possible, and a mother who's a complete character, and a husband who's a complete character, and she herself is a complete character. This kind of felt like I was reading a Southern Gothic at times, but it's all real, or at least as real as it can be when, you know, someone's writing about their own life and the people in their life. I loved this book. It was absolutely 5 stars. I listened to an audio, and being able to listen to Patricia Lockwood narrate her own life was really special. She has a really interesting speaking voice, and I love the way she spoke. She has a very, like, NPR voice, and on top of that, she is very, very funny. This book is witty and dark, and she really trots that fine line between respecting something and also being really crass in a really intelligent and smart way. And she does it so well. For example, she talks about her, like, growing up in the Catholic faith, deeply entrenched in the Catholic faith, in a way that I thought was really interesting. She has a very dark sense of humor about it, but at the same time, she never looks completely down upon it, which I liked. She does the same thing with the people in her life, who at times do ridiculous, insane things, but she also still, like, has a lot of love for them. She talks about really serious stuff in this book, quite serious subject matter. She talks about her sexual assault, she talks about abuse in the Catholic Church. She does this all with a really serious sense of being serious, which is very repetitive, but she's incredibly respectful and gives lots of reverence to whatever she's talking about. The writing is beautiful. Patricia Lockwood is a poet, and you can tell her imagery is very textured and very real, and at the same time incredibly fantastical. And I just love this book, and I would really recommend it. It's definitely going to be one of my favorites of this year. The next book I read was another, like, 4 or 5 star read, and that was Sadie by Courtney Summers. I'm sure you've heard of Sadie. This book is, like, sweeping the booktubes, the bookternet currently, but Sadie is a crime mystery thriller. I'd say it's more like a thriller, about a girl, Sadie, who's 19, and her sister has been murdered, and she's on a revenge quest to, like, you know, avenge her sister's death, or get revenge over her sister's death. This book is incredibly dark and incredibly sad, but I really loved it. As much as you can love something that has such serious, dark subject matter. I listened to an audio, I'm sure you know, but if you're gonna, like, consume this book, I would say if you can, listen to an audio because it's amazing. It's a full cast audiobook. Half of the book is told through like a true crime, kind of like serial style podcast. When you listen to the audio, it's like you're listening to a real podcast. And the other half of the story is told through Sadie's perspective, so you get this really interesting back and forth of Sadie experiencing the thing, and then months later, the podcast like reporter figuring out what's going on. It's fascinating. Like I said, it was really, really dark and really sad, but I think well worth all of it. It's probably the best audiobook I've ever listened to. I don't know if I already said that. I probably have. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm not a big fan of thrillers most of the time, but because I've become friends with Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, who she loves thrillers, I've sort of slowly been getting into thrillers more. Like, I read this, and now I'm reading The Favorite Sister by Jessica Knoll, because I just feel like I'm into this genre now, so Emma has won. She was never pressuring me, but like, I feel like her booktube skills are so good that now I like but I'm interested in thrillers. So yeah, I would say definitely give Sadie a listen or a read. It was amazing, but it does have a lot of serious dark subject matter, so it's not something you necessarily want to deal with or read about. I would steer clear from it. And then finally, the last book that I'm going to talk about is Bachelor Nation by Amy Kaufman. This is another book I listened to in audio. I got this from the library and I got Meet Cute from the library, so I'm glad the two books that were kind of my lowest rated of the month I got from the library. Bachelor Nation is basically Amy Kaufman's an LA Times reporter who's a huge fan of The Bachelor and Bachelor Nation, and she's reporting on the secret inside world of The Bachelor and all the different franchises that have come from it. I'm a casual viewer of The Bachelor, but I just wanted to listen to something really like easy after I listened to Sadie, nothing super intense, and this was definitely perfect for that. At times, I thought this book was really interesting. Amy Kaufman's an incredibly capable reporter. She does really, really great research. She's a really good narrator. She narrates the audiobook, and she does a fantastic job of that. I feel like she delves into a lot of the problems with The Bachelor and the Bachelor franchise. She's very kind to its viewers and to the members and the people who have been on the show, which I enjoyed, but she also has a critical eye. I think she does a good job. I just think this could have just been like a long article. I don't think it needed to be a book. And if it was a book, I think it could have been probably 200 pages shorter, because I thought a lot of it was filler. Specifically, she has these chapters where celebrities go on and talk about why they watch The Bachelor, and those chapters just by and large sucked, and were really useless. And I don't care why Mark Wahlberg's brother, Donnie Wahlberg, watches The Bachelor, to be honest. It doesn't matter to me. Those were useless. In general, the book was fine. I think it's like, if you just want to listen to something really easy, I would say go for it. I listened to it really quickly because it was just good background, and at times it was interesting, so it wasn't a complete waste of time. It does kind of make me want to watch the newest season of The Bachelor just because I have all this information now that I want to impart while watching a season. But we'll see. Anyway, those are 4 books I've read recently. Let me know what you think. Have a lovely day. Bye.